Oh. Look down and all of a sudden, all these people here.
There's more than one.
There's one. Are we ready? So ready. Stop. This meeting to order, please. This is the Ellensburg City Council meeting of Monday, October 3rd. This is our regular meeting. Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Council Member Elliott?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you and welcome to everyone. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Is Sarah on remotely? Do you? No, okay. Elliot,
Here.
Goodlow, here, Lilquist,
Here.
David Miller,
Here.
Monica Miller, here. Wynn.
Here.
Thank you.
Would you like a excused absence? of the chair?
Yes, I guess we're going to have to excuse Councilmember Beauchamp because she was hoping that she could join us via Zoom, but apparently that's not happening.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second to excuse Sarah Beauchamp. All in favor?
Aye.
I too will vote aye. That motion carries. So proclamations. We have a National Disability Employment Awareness Month proclamation that Councilmember Goodlow will read.
National Disability Employment Awareness Month, October 2022. Disability, part of the equity equation, is the theme for the month. Whereas National Disability Employment Awareness Month is observed annually and sponsored by the U.S. Department of Labor through its Office of Disability Employment Policy. And whereas the U.S. Department of Labor's Office of Disability Employment Policy chose a theme of disability, part of the equity equation for October's National Disability Employment Awareness Month 2022. And whereas this theme recognizes and honors the vital role people with disabilities play in making the nation's workforce diverse and inclusive. And whereas we recognize that people with a disability are of all racial, ethnic, educational, social, and economic backgrounds, and all are valued members of our community. And whereas workplaces that welcome the talents of all people, including people with disabilities, are a critical part of Ellensburg's efforts to build an inclusive community with a strong economy. And whereas people with disabilities are an irreplaceable resource, and we cannot morally or financially afford to lose the contributions that people with disabilities bring to the workplace and to mainstream community life. And whereas the Ellensburg City Council encourages employers to expand accommodations for their current and future employees and ensure all Ellensburg residents can realize the promise of equity in the workplace. Now therefore, I, Nancy Lilquist, Mayor of the City of Ellensburg, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim October 2022 as National Disability Employment Awareness Month. Signed this third day of October 2022.
Motion for the mayor's signature.
Second.
Motion and second for mayor's signature on the National Disability Employment Awareness Month proclamation. All in favor?
Aye.
I too will vote aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Our next proclamation is the Community Planning Month proclamation read by Councilmember David Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm excited to read this because I'm a 25-year member of the American Planning Association, so I get to talk about planners and planning. Proclamation, Community Planning Month. Whereas change is constant and affects all cities, towns, suburbs, counties, boroughs, townships, rural areas, and other places. And whereas community planning and plans can help manage this change in a way that provides better choices for how people work and live. And whereas community planning provides an opportunity for all residents to be meaningfully involved in making choices that determine the future of their community. And whereas the full benefits of planning requires public officials and community members who understand, support, and demand excellence in planning and plan implementation. And whereas the month of October is designated National Community Planning Month throughout the United States of America and its territories. And whereas American Planning Association endorses National Community Planning Month as an opportunity to highlight how planning is essential to recovery and how planners can lead communities to equitable, resilient, and long-lasting recovery. And whereas the celebration of National Community Planning Month gives us the opportunity to publicly recognize the participation and dedication of the members of the Planning Commissions and other community planners who have contributed to their time and expertise to the improvement of the city of Ellensburg. And whereas we recognize the many valuable contributions made by professional community and regional planners of the city of Ellensburg, and extend our heartfelt thanks for the continued commitment to public service by these professionals. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the month of October 22 is hereby designated Community Planning Month in the city of Ellensburg in conjunction with the celebration of National Community Planning Month. Adopted this third day, October 2022.
Move the mayor's signature.
Second.
Motion and second for the mayor's signature on the Community Planning Month proclamation. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And two will vote aye opposed. That motion carries. And we're at item 3, awards and recognitions. I believe we have an introduction.
We do. Heidi Barron Sturdaway, your city manager, and I have the distinct pleasure of welcoming Cindy LaChapelle Mathis. She's our new executive assistant. This is her very first day on the job, and she's joining us for council tonight.
Welcome. You're in good hands, Will. So council approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Two will vote aye opposed. Motion carries. Consent agendas before you.
Madam Mayor, move consent agenda.
Second.
Motion and second for the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Two will vote aye opposed. Motion carries. We are at item 6, page 133, board and commission introductions and consideration of appointments. We have Jill Sheffer. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Council. My name is Jill Sheffer. I've been in Ellensburg for 22 years. I've served on several city commissions and county commissions over the past few years. I served on city council for 9 years between 2009 and 2018. And now I'm interested in serving on the Arts Commission to help out with moving that Commission's agenda forward. I particularly represent the performing arts with the Ellensburg Dance Ensemble, and we're putting on the Nutcracker 2022 this December. I'm the producer. So it's a cast of 62 plus a whole bunch of other people behind the scenes helping out. So it's going to be a huge show in partnership with Central up at McConnell Hall Auditorium, December 8th and through the 11th. So I'm excited about that, and I'm thrilled to be considered for Arts Commission membership. Thank you.
Does anyone have questions for Ms. Sheffer? Thank you. and Jeffrey Snedeker.
Doing them all at once.
Let's do introductions and then we can take the motions separately.
Greetings to all of you. My name is Jeff Snedeker. I've been in Ellensburg for 31 years. All of those years teaching in the music department at Central Washington University. When the announcement of the opening for the Arts Commission came up, or I became aware of it, it just happened to strike me at a really opportune moment. My interest in serving on the commission is, well, first of all, I have the time for some unknown reason. Not had the time in the past, but now I do. My particular interest is obviously the music and that aspect of the performing arts. But having been involved in a whole range of different types of groups, both on campus and off campus, just, you know, my interest in the arts in general is one of advocacy. I'm very interested in doing whatever I can to help certainly the commission's goals and look for every opportunity to advocate for the arts, whether it's in the schools, which I've done a fair amount of when my kids were in the schools, but also just in terms of the community at large. So very interested and would be honored to serve.
Thank you. Council, do you have any questions for Mr. Snedeker? Thank you. And for the Planning Commission, Delano Palmer is online. Can he be unmuted and he can introduce himself? So Delano, can you speak? There you go.
Can you hear me now? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good evening. Hi, this is Delano Palmer. I am the Director of Capital Planning and Projects at Central Washington University. I've been with the institution for 4 years now, and in that role, I'm in charge of the capital construction on campus, major renovations. And my interest in the Planning Commission is, one, to complete the bond between Central Washington and the city of Ellensburg. I think they have similar paths and progress. And so that's one goal. And the second is really just to continue my community involvement with this beautiful town. And I apologize, my camera is not working. So sorry for that.
No problem. Are there any questions for Mr. Palmer? Thank you all for being here and introducing yourselves. You have been through a vetting process that's fairly new to us, but appears to be working. Sure.
Thank you. So I was the staff or council liaison on the Arts Commission interviews. I just wanted to say that the applicants that are before you tonight, we were very, very pleased with the response, and we ended up with, in the final vetting, we ended up with 3 highly qualified applicants, and we think that we're very fortunate to get that level of community response. So I'm looking forward to some service from our community members.
Thank you. We can take these all together or one at a time, your preference.
Madam Mayor, I would move is it you that approves or do we approve?
Okay.
I would move that we approve Jill Shepard, Jeffrey Snedeker, and Delano Palmer's applications to the respective committees.
Motion and second to approve the applications of Jill Sheffer, Jeffrey Snedeker to the Arts Commission, and Delano Palmer to the Planning Commission as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 2 will vote aye, opposed. That motion carries. Thank you all for volunteering. And I hope you have a good experience. We are at 6B, which is a Keene update.
Thank you for hearing from us tonight. I am Carlin Saunders. I am Keene's Environmental Education Director. And we are joined today by Jill Sheffer, our board president, Elise Herman, Sasha Wolpart, and Allison Rogan-Clevey, who are board members of Keene, and Adrian Pinsino, who is our program, or who was our program supervisor for our program this summer, which we will be giving you a little mini recap on. The program Windy City Park Rangers was a grant-funded program that we co-wrote with the city of Ellensburg, and the SEEK grant was given to us to provide this free 10-week summer camp that we ran this summer. So I'm going to hand it off to Adrian and let her tell you all the wonderful recaps of what happened this summer.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you. So we ran Windy City Park Rangers in 4 of the city parks in Ellensburg, Kiwanis, West Ellensburg, Mountain View, and North Alder. And each of those ran for 10 weeks this summer. So from June 20th to August 26th for 6 hours, Monday through Friday. So we had counselors with kids outside for 6 hours every day in the parks. This was kindergarten to 8th grade, so around 5 to 13 years old. And like Carlin mentioned, this was between $0 to $150 just sliding scale donations. So a lot of families were attending at no cost, thanks to the grant that we received. And the majority of our content or our programming, because it is Keene, had to do with nature immersions. We did STEM activities. We also had art, just outdoor games, recreation, had kids running around with physical activity as well. Yeah. Some successes from our program. So one, we had safe, accessible outdoor programming. A lot of folks would have been indoors had they not been out in the parks with us. We had 142 individual campers. Some attended 1 week, some up to 10 weeks. So for a camper who attended every single day, that was 300 total hours outdoors this summer. Around 25% of folks who attended the camp self-reported incomes that were below the federal poverty line. So it's definitely a need. We recruited through hiring of a new community outreach coordinator who was bilingual in English and Spanish. And then we worked with some community organizations such as City Parks, Fish and Apoyo food banks. And we also had students complete a weekly survey, so we kind of got some feedback from them as well. And a lot of their responses of kind of the most important things that they got out of the camp had to do with social emotional learning. Actually, around 30% of the responses said they were making friends, getting to know people, working in groups. So that was, and I guess somewhat expected, but really affirming feedback that we got from the kids. And also increased positive association to nature in place. And then community feedbacks, we also sent parents a survey at the end. 100% of surveyed parents said that the locations were easy to access. So that was something that was important to us. Again, going back to the percent of folks who are low income or who are struggling to make ends meet. So that was good news. 80% reported not having another option for childcare. So for a variety of reasons. So again, like I mentioned earlier, kids would have been at home, inside, potentially at work with parents, but they were able to be outside doing these engaging activities instead. And then over 90% strongly agreed that they would enroll their children in the camp again, were we able to offer it. And then just some general strengths that they also mentioned were the types of activities. We were able to team with Fish Food Bank through the summer lunch program. So students also, or campers, I'm also a teacher, so I'm used to saying students, campers also had a free lunch every day offered through that program in the parks. Friendliness of campers, affordability, and connection to nature and outdoors. My subtitles are covering myself. And then also the opportunity to develop social skills. So those are all things that parents appreciated or said that their kids were getting out of this program. So yeah, we're just happy to share some of those successes with you all. And thank you for the opportunity to share that and to listen to some of what happened this summer with Keene.
Thank you for the presentation. Council, do you have any questions? Thank you.
There was a question. One quick one. So
this was mostly ran off of grant money this year, correct?
Yes, so the city of Ellensburg and Keene co-wrote a grant through the Office of the Superintendent called the Summer Enrichment Education Program. Education Enrichment Programs for Kids, or the SEEK grant. And so together we received about $270,000 that was facilitated through the city to us to facilitate this programming.
So longevity wise, would you be seeking more grant funds the following year to be doing the same program, say next summer? Or is there a way that you're?
Right
working
now,
on it?
we're currently working on a final analysis of our end budget and where we can make adjustments to that so that we can do just that, is apply for further grant funding to make this either a permanent addition to summer opportunities in the future. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
We are at item 7, citizen comment on non-agenda issues. This is the time for the public to have you would have 3 minutes to speak to the council on matters that the council has some control over, and you should identify yourself and provide your address, please. So I do not see Danelle Miller in the room or on online, so we will go to Becky Pearson.
Hello.
Hi, Becky.
Hi, I'm Becky Pearson. I live at 1115 East 3rd Avenue in Ellensburg, and I am here to read a letter to honor Larry Lowther. Dear City Council, this letter is to honor Larry Lowther as he officially retires from the Our Environment Steering Committee. As someone relatively new to OE work, I hardly knew quite how to capture in words what Larry's work and commitment have meant. I only know how Larry has engaged with me and how he's made me feel while working with the group, a valued part of something strong in this community. It is thanks to Larry's tireless and detailed work that Our Environment provides a strong voice for change in our community, a voice that is heard and appreciated. Larry's life and work in this community have brought things into being. Larry's voice and leadership were the foundations for the commitment to social justice by the congregation of the Ellensburg United Methodist Church many years ago, a commitment that has shaped the church's place in the community. Larry's engagements with social justice and with the environment go hand in hand, as does his approach to these engagements. He does the focused work of researching and advocating, and he brings to the fore the nuances that need to be considered in order to move forward with change. Larry is consistently an activist, but an approachable, dependable, and gentle one. Most importantly to me and to others who've helped craft this letter, Larry helps people to find a way to engage, and he offers a consistent model to emulate. Through his writing and organization work, Larry helps create a voice and helps others use that voice. Larry's writing is always timely, carefully constructed, thoughtful, clear, and concise. He knows his topics, and they are varied. To mention just a few, Larry has written about our collective interests in sharing the COVID vaccine with everyone, about the significance of constitutional law for us all, and about the qualities of strong public servants. His words are never emotional and thus always impactful. Those who consider themselves fellow activists find special meaning in what Larry says, writes, and does, and we know we need to engage as well. His work and his manner are to be valued and carried on. We thank you, Larry, for your many years of activism and letter writing. Thanks especially for establishing Our Environment. Your work will continue. It lives on in print, but also in other people who will keep following your example. With deep respect and appreciation, Our Environment Steering Committee and other community members.
Thank you, Ms. Pearson.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak in council? Seeing no one. We will move to businesses requiring public hearings. Which which means I read a script. The purpose of this legislative hearing is for the city council to consider the proposed 2023 revenue sources supporting the activities of the general fund. The public hearing is now open. I ask your cooperation in the following procedure. Everyone will be given an opportunity to be heard. The city clerk will be making a recording of the proceedings. If you wish to participate in the hearing, you must raise your virtual hand on the Zoom meeting screen or press *9 if you are connected by telephone and wait until I have recognized your request and you have been unmuted. You should then begin by stating your name and address and indicate whether you're speaking for yourself individually or as a spokesperson for a certain group or both. Speak slowly and clearly. Only one person will be allowed to speak at a time. Your testimony must only address the matter under consideration in this hearing. Any questions of staff are to be directed through the council. Each person will have an opportunity to address the council for an initial period not to exceed 5 minutes. If more time is needed, it will be made available for after everyone has had an opportunity to speak. Before we hear from the audience, is there a staff report to be presented?
Yes, good evening, Council and Madam Mayor, Derica Pasco, Finance Director for the city. Just here on the share screen and then I lost it.
If you tap right on the screen, there you go.
See that? Okay, so this public hearing is being held for the purpose of council consideration of and receiving public comment on the proposed 2023 revenue sources supporting the activities of the general fund. As set forth by state statute, the city shall receive information on the estimated general fund revenues from all sources for the current year, as well as estimates for the following budget period. The hearing must include consideration of possible increases in property tax revenue and must be held prior to the consideration of an adopting an ad valorem property tax ordinance for 2023. Estimated 2023 revenues have been prepared to determine the availability of revenue to support the city's financial needs in the general government in 2023. Unlike enterprise funds or proprietary funds, in which rates are set based on a cost of services, governmental funds must estimate revenues first and then back into their expenditure budgets. The city's 2023-24 biennial budget considers the estimated available revenues and anticipated financial requirements and recommends an amount to be raised by the ad valorem property taxes in 2023. General fund revenues are presented in the attachment titled General Fund 2023 Revenue Sources beginning on page 146 of your agenda. Upon conclusion of this public hearing on revenue sources, first reading of the 2023 ad valorem property tax ordinance will be scheduled for council's November 7th, 2022 meeting. I ask that you keep in mind that these figures are estimates or projections and will continue to change as more information becomes available. At the timing of being able to prepare these in order to have them ready for the first Monday of October, which is required, that we needed to prepare them the beginning of September. And so numbers are still constantly changing as they come in. In addition, I think it's important to note that I may use the words estimates and projections interchangeably throughout this. So what do the general fund activities include? General fund activities typically include council and city management, general government, economic development, finance services, community development services, parks and recreation, engineering, library services, and police services. The general fund includes the following city funds: the city general, sales tax reserve fund, arts acquisition fund, and the fire relief and pension fund. Majority of general fund expenditures are funded with tax revenues, and this includes our largest sales tax that we currently have projected at about 6.9 million, property tax at 3.55 million, utility taxes at 3.4, and other taxes and fees at around 227,000. And of course, we've included our budgeted beginning fund balance there. The general fund does not include all governmental funds, however, that are supported by some of these same tax revenue sources that I'll talk about a little bit later, such as streets, arterial street debt, and capital construction. So here we have the 2023 projected general fund revenue by source. So this gives a percentage breakdown of the estimated revenue sources. My apologies here too. I noticed that the column titles over at the right and or the bottom got cut off, it looks like, when we saved this as a PDF. So taxes account for about 69% of our general fund revenue projected in 2023, or just over 14 million, followed by charges for services, which is the next largest portion. They're in red at about 23.2% or 4.7 million. And we have our intergovernmental revenues at around 2.9%, licenses and permits at 2.5%, fines and penalties at 1.1%, and miscellaneous at 1.3%. So the total projected 2023 general fund revenues is around 20.4 million. And then including our estimated beginning fund balance, we have a total available resources of around 28 million. Here we have our 2022 and 23 projected tax revenues. So with the taxes being the largest general fund revenue source, we show a breakdown by tax type and compare it with our current year estimates. Sales tax, I should note, includes the Department of City General Department local criminal justice sales tax that we collect from the state. It does not, however, include our county's 0.3% sales tax, or the affordable housing 1/10, or transit's 0.2% sales tax. Property tax right now we have budgeted or estimated at a 1% amount plus additional for annexation and new constructions totaling a 4% increase, or budgeted at around 3.5 million. B&O taxes, which include our utility and gambling taxes, at just over 3.5 million. Sales tax, which again included a portion from the state, and our regular retail sales at 6.9 million. And other taxes, which includes things such as admissions tax and leasehold tax, at around 125,000. I should note too that currently the projected estimated budget sales tax at 6.9 feels a little high. Again, these projections were from second quarter projections, and although sales tax is still higher than it has been in the previous, our monthly percentage that we're over previous year is slowly going down. I think through the last one, we're down at about 6%. So if I was to re-estimate these through the latest, it would probably be down by around 240,000 at this time. But those numbers, again, change daily. These estimates, again, are based on 6/30 of 2022 projections. I also wanted to note that we have limited control over the taxes as a revenue source, since state law limits increasing property tax to the lower of the 1% over the prior year's levy, or the IPD, which is the implicit price deflator, which is an inflation method. Utility taxes is very weather, consumption, and rate dependent, and sales tax is influenced by many economic factors, with construction being one of our most volatile classes. Here we have the 2022 and 23 projected revenues excluding taxes. Let's see. Charges for services, the first one that we have there is at 51.5%. A majority of this is internal services such as accounting and engineering fees, which we charge in the beginning as revenues, and at the year end, we have to true that up based on actual expenditures. And so the revenues are backed out and expenditures are moved from the general fund to the allocating funds, such as utility funds and the other enterprise funds. Then in addition to that, we have general charges for services for parks and recreation, utility door tags, a few library fees, The next largest one we have there, it looks like it's intergovernmental revenues. You'll see a big change between the 2022 estimates and the 2023 budgets for intergovernmental revenue. This is because a portion in the about 2.9 million of what's included in the 2022 estimates was our state and local fiscal recovery funds that we received the second half of this year. So we won't be seeing those in the future. And typically the first budget that comes out for intergovernmental revenue is typically a little bit lower because we don't know of any grant revenue yet for the future budgets. So that will increase throughout the year. Licenses and permits, you'll see $500,000 for licenses and permits. 2022 looks really low there, but again, these were back in last June. I think since then, we've already seen more than the 272,000 for licenses and permits. So I would predict that this year should come in closer to around 470,000. Licenses and permits consist mostly of building permits with some other animal licenses and small ones there. Then we have miscellaneous, which is mostly made up of interest, and we have made some investments since some additional investments since this report was prepared, as well as the Fed's raising the basis points and everything. So we will redo the interest calculations or estimates for the 2023 budget too, and expect those to increase. And then last ones, it looks like is fines and penalties, which consist mostly of utility late fees and parking fees and such. And then this is all of the estimates again for 2022 compared to 2023. So again, we're projecting an increase in all areas except for that intergovernmental revenue, which again is due to the receiving the state and local fiscal recovery funds. Overall, our revenue estimates are down by 9% compared to 2022 because of that second half of those funds of the 2.9 million. But if we remove that 2.9 million, we'd be up around 4% overall. Keeping in mind that general fund grants may not be known or included yet. And there's still significant uncertainty on the outlook of control due to controlling inflation, the timing, length, and severity of the recession, and the impacts that these may have on our revenue projections. So sales tax, one of the largest and most important revenue sources available to cities. We thought it was important to give a little more information on the sales tax trends and what it supports. So overall, you'll see here in the green, the sales tax supports just by over half, or 52% of that is for streets. In the blue, there is just the general fund, the general government that I talked about before, police, library, parks, city council. And then the portion in red there is our debt payments for general obligation debt. In addition to the general government that I've mentioned here, we also, sales tax continues to support some additional capital projects and arterial street projects and one-time spending. So down below here, we show in blue, this is sales tax that we receive that's non-construction sales tax. We always talk about the construction sales tax being so volatile. And in the red is the sales tax received from construction. And we talk about trying to spend that on one-time spending. In addition to those one-time spending projects, such as the money that we use for arts and things like that. We also include arterial street support in that because those are capital street projects. So the green line there shows how we've spent or how much we've spent in compared to what we've collected for those one-time projects. And this shows a percentage increase of regular retail sales tax collected over the previous years. So you'll see in 2018, we had that large dip of 2%. That was due to reporting because we switched to cash basis reporting. Then we were started to be up in 2019. We had COVID hit. And so then we saw a decrease in 2020 over 2019. We recovered in 2021 back to pre-COVID levels and then some. And then so far as of what we received in August, which would be through June sales, where we're up 6% over 2021. To finish our report showing the trends of sales tax from month to month. Collections from month to month are up and down, but we use this to show that it still follows a trend, a seasonal or monthly trend. So you can kind of see that, although it's kind of hard here because it's squished, we go down and up based on the seasons in the month, except for there's a dark blue line here that's really hard to see, this dark blue line that I'm trying to follow there. That was 2020, so that was COVID. So that's the one that really has thrown everything off due to, timing and shutdowns and stuff like that. So staff recommends council conduct the public hearing and consider the information received. No further action is necessary at this time, required or pending the 2023 ad valorem property tax ordinance, which is set for November 7th.
Thank you, Jerica. The floor is open to testimony from the public. Each person will have an opportunity to address the council for an initial period not to exceed 5 minutes. If more time is needed, it will be made available after everyone has had an opportunity to speak. Is there anyone who would, I only see staff out there here. I'm thinking there is no one online. So staff, do you have anything to add? Council, do you have any questions of the staff?
I do. Is it normal to have 25% of the budget be a beginning fund balance? Can you talk about that a little bit?
It is not. The part of the reason why the fund balance is so large right now is because of that state and local fiscal recovery funds that we received, which was around 5.8 million. And of that, we've only spent, I think, around 650 to 700,000. So those projects are already projected and going into the budget, but since that hasn't been spent yet, that's why our fund balance is so much higher than normal.
Thank you.
What is our recommended fund balance?
15 to 20% is what we recommend for of current year expenditures. So it varies.
28.
And this only shows revenues here. So this does not show what our expenditures budget would be at this time. So
that full amount, the 28 million, isn't available necessarily because we need to
correct. Part of it's already been committed.
I actually have a question. So just to clarify, half of the city's tax revenue is sales tax, and half of that is spent on streets.
Yes, between streets and arterial streets, that's where a majority of our sales tax goes.
Is there any further questions? And there being no action, the public testimony portion of this hearing is now closed, and there is no discussion and deliberation until November 7th.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are at item 9A, first reading of the electric, natural gas, stormwater, sewer, and water utility rates and plant investment fees. Mr. Liskey.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Ryan Liskey, Public Works and Utilities Director. Before council tonight is consideration of proposed ordinance 4897. The ordinance that staff is recommending for first reading includes rate increases for electric, natural gas, sewer, stormwater, and water. Note that the rate increases are a 3-year package for 23, 24, and 25. for natural gas, water, and sewer. Currently, the electric utility will only see an increase in 2024, and stormwater will have increases in 23 and 24. Primary driver for the rate increases in stormwater is to meet debt service requirements for the $5 million bond that was issued for the Reeser Creek project. Also included in the proposed ordinance are increases in plant investment fees for water and sewer. These increased PIFs are what has been calculated as the fair share of permit fee when new services sought for our utilities. Utilities did lose some compounding revenue increases over the last few years. The last rate increases for natural gas, sewer, stormwater, and water were in 2020 and 2019 for electric. Natural gas, water, and sewer did have planned rate increases for 2021 and 22, and electric in 2021 that did not move forward. Plant investment fees had been planned on a 4-year incremental increase, of which 2 increases took place. These planned increases were not codified due to the COVID pandemic. As council is aware, the city contracted with the FCS Group about a year ago to perform a cost of service analysis, or COSA, for electric, natural gas, water, and sewer. City also contracted with FCS back in 2018 to perform a COSA for electric, water, and sewer. Performing COSAs are a prudent activity for utilities to conduct. The COSA evaluates many things for the city, and more importantly, the city's ratepayers. It assures that all individual classes of utility services, commercial, industrial, residential, etc., pay their fair share for the specific rate class or service, meaning they're not subsidizing other utility classes and that growth pays for growth. One additional council policy is the discount program for low income and nonprofit rates. You can see in the FCS PowerPoint bar charts this benefit. The 2018 COSA did identify some classes that needed adjustments. And as the attached PowerPoint shows, a lot of progress has been made and most of our utility classes are within acceptable levels. The COSAs utilize a multitude of inputs and information to build a model. For example, current plant size, capacities, maintenance projects, capital projects, inflation, and debt service obligations for bonds. There's many more criteria. The COSAs also look at current rate structures and look into the future for rates, future rates needed to properly fund the utilities. Note also that the COSA process evaluates how best to fund projects in the future at a utility's cash flow or the need for bonds as well as other sources of revenue. The city has been very good at tracking available grant programs and submitting applications. Most of the grant programs available to the city are transportation related projects. A portion of the drilling of the Illinois well did come from the Distressed County Sales and Use Tax Program. As Jarek has brought up as well, a portion of the American Rescue funding is being used for the Anderson Road Sewer Project, which will remove the First Avenue lift station from that system over there. The grants have been incorporated into the model, which helps defray rate increases. Staff will continue seeking grants where available. Should the city attain a grant, for instance, significant funding towards the city's aeration upgrade at the wastewater treatment facility, staff would have the rate model updated for sewer and adjust sewer rates to reflect that new revenue. City Council has the benefit of controlling all of our utilities. We're very fortunate to own and operate all of these utilities: electric, natural gas, sewer, stormwater, water, and telecom. I believe the only city in Washington State, which means the City Council gets to make local decision on all of these utilities. The city's utilities are considered enterprise funds, which means that each utility needs to run as its individual self-supporting business. We continue to keep up our system plans, which in turn identify maintenance and capital improvement programs to maintain the integrity of each system. These proposed rate increases will help staff continue prudent and responsible maintenance and capital projects for the various utilities to assure good customer service to our existing customers. These proposed rate increases will also position the city and staff to provide service to new businesses and homeowners as they request service. The PowerPoints do have some other utility costs shared throughout the state. Please note that these comparisons may not always be apples to apples, as we all have our own intricacies. Staff and FCS aren't sure if any of the other utilities are currently proposing increased rate increases as we are. As stated before, this process has been underway for a year or so. A lot of scrutiny and care has been put into this work, and I take it personally. Proposed 20 and 23 and 2024 budgets have been developed, incorporating these proposed rate structures and plant investment fees. The Utility Advisory Committee evaluated the electric, natural gas, sewer, and water proposals at their July 21st meeting and the stormwater increase at their September 15th meeting. The UAC recommended council adopt the proposed rate structures. Council was also provided the same presentation from the FCS group and the stormwater utility at its September 19th meeting. Before council tonight is proposed ordinance 4897. Staff recommends council consider first reading of the ordinance. Myself, Buddy Stanovich, Power and Gas Manager, John Morrow, Stormwater Manager, Derek Mayo, Engineering Services Manager, as well as Sergey Tarasov with the FCS group is online, and we are available for questions should you have them.
Thank you. First, I'd like to offer, is there anyone from the public who would like to speak on this matter? So no one in the room and no one online. Thank you. Council, are there questions for staff? Mr. Wynn.
So we have in the back of the packet here, you break down the different cities around our area that are getting or having rate increases as well. Are we seeing that on counties as well, say like PUD? Are they also increasing their rates?
Possibly Sergey, if you can help me as well. I do know there's one of the other large local private utilities in our valley and across the state has double-digit electric and natural gas increases, I think already adopted. I think I saw a large 200,000 natural gas private for profit natural gas utility is going up.
And if I may, Ryan, we work with quite a few other utilities as well throughout the state, and depending on the utility, and depending on the PD, but several that I'm involved in are considering rate action as well. So there's quite a few utilities that are facing the similar issues that the city is facing, specifically with supply chain issues with inflation, and they're pretty much forced to have rate action consideration of some sort as well. It's just, as Ryan mentioned, those charts are always a little bit of an apples and oranges comparison, because we're looking at what everybody is today versus what we're proposing to be tomorrow, because we can't really speak unless somebody publishes their rates, what they're going to be. So it's always kind of a apples and oranges. But just from my experience personally, quite a few utilities are in the same process of increasing their rates.
Thank you.
Councilmember Elliott.
Yeah, and I guess this is less a question than really just thank you guys for doing exactly what we asked you to do, everybody. And I'll save the rest for when we start talking about those.
Okay. Any other questions? I had asked a question about because the plant investment fees were kind of an issue, and I nearly doubling those is hard to think about relative to what attracting businesses, but I asked the question of if we cut those in half or like kept them where they are at now, what's the impact on rates? And the answer was it would increase the costs for other ratepayers like $1.50 per month. So to me is unacceptable and it violates our rules of having growth pay for growth, and there's some underlying assumptions that, and I don't know if you want to speak to those that that growth pays for growth, that each customer class is a unit in itself, and those.
That's what I was kind of hoping to lay that out a little bit, but if a new single family home comes in, when they build their home, they expect to have water, drinking water, showers, they expect to flush the toilet, have electricity, take or not take natural gas, and they expect them all to work. Fire flows. So there's a whole bunch of other stuff that's built into your water rates that you don't think of. But if the house catches on fire, we as a city are expected to provide enough fire flow for that house so that the fire department can show up and put it out. And there's a lot of other background things in there that get built into that plant investment fee. Our water system plan, like I talked earlier, we update these plans every 5 years, 6 years, some can be longer. They have more storage in there, like more towers or more water storage. And so who's going to pay for that? So that kind of answers it easily for a single family home, but a business may, if they have a high demand for water, then we need to be able to produce the amount of water they need. Some other stuff down just for talking points, like a 4-inch water meter has a pretty substantial plant investment fee. But 4-inch water meter, the amount of flow through that is similar to some of our wells. That's how much they can peak at, is the amount of water we can run through a 4-inch meter. So there's a burden on the system that we need to be able to provide. And so it does come with a cost.
Thank you. Rich, do you have more?
No question. I just have something to comment.
Well, are we ready to deliberate? Is anyone else have?
Madam Mayor, I move first reading of ordinance 4897.
Second.
Motion and second for first reading of ordinance 4897 for electric, natural gas, stormwater, sewer, and water utility rates and plant investment fees for 2023 through 2025. Discussion.
So again, I feel like we've hired a consultant, we've asked staff, and we've run these utilities for, in some cases, 100 or more than 100 years. I think that nobody, sitting on this side of the table wants to raise rates, for a whole bunch of reasons. But I think I also am cautious about sort of picking apart individual items amongst the rate structures or plant investment fees. We hired people to tell us what the numbers say to fully fund and maintain the level of service that our communities become accustomed to. And development is in part about cost, but it's also about infrastructure. And if we don't maintain that infrastructure, then it doesn't matter how low your rates are, it's not going to work. And there are communities fairly close to us that I think we can identify. And so, I'm reluctant to get into the, transferring costs from ratepayers or from developers to ratepayers when we've already sort of made that decision. And it feels like, after the fact, nobody likes to say yes to this, but this is our job.
I agree. There are some underlying assumptions that I agree with, but we could violate if we wanted to mix things up. But I would have a hard time doing that as well. Does anyone else have comments?
I was just going to ask Ryan to speak to number 2 in your staff report, the recommendations about CFU interruptible natural gas contract rate.
Should we deal with the motion on the table first?
I believe that that's going to be a different motion, Nancy.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So all in favor for first reading of ordinance 4897?
Aye.
Aye. And 2 will vote aye, opposed. That motion carries.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Ellensburg, Washington relating to Title IX utilities and amending sections as listed in the ordinance of the Ellensburg City Code.
So item 2 in the staff report deals with Central's contract.
Correct. Central Washington University operates under an interruptible natural gas contract with the city of Ellensburg. And so these are the rates that are established by COSA. We've notified Central of these. And so when the council could make a motion on these rates, we will then amend their contract to reflect these in each of these years.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second to I guess adopt the rates identified 154 for Central's contract for interruptible natural gas. Nancy, did that answer your question? Yeah. Any further discussion on this motion? All in favor?
Aye.
I too will vote aye. Opposed? That motion carries. I had anticipated more discussion from the public on this. But thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sergey.
Thank you for your time.
We are at the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Heidi Behrens, Cernaway, your city manager. Just a reminder, waste management fall cleanup days are underway right now. There are options for folks who are unable to haul their own. If seniors or those with disabilities, please contact City Hall. There are methods that we can help you. Also, just a reminder, as part of our budget calendar, we've established the first in what we hope will be several stackable certificates for a new Citizens Academy. Or we're calling this Ellensburg Academy. And this will be one of several options people have to learn more about their city and their services. And so we put out in the online newsletter this month. The first date is October 24th, and we will hold some additional topic items over the next year. We decided this would be a great opportunity to start with this. So folks can sign up online. We have some information on social media, and we'll have it on our website and make it easy for people. So this is open to the public. We want to provide kind of first come, first serve for folks who live in the community. And again, an opportunity to learn at this point more about the city budget and the process. I'm going to add a couple items here, and one is that on your October 17th meeting, staff have scheduled a public hearing for council to consider approval of a renewal cable franchise agreement with Charter Communications as well. And then finally, I guess not finally, a couple more things. On the dais are two letters of support. One is a letter to support Hope Source's request for funds for a new project to do transitional housing for 18 to 20-year-olds at a new facility that is currently being built on First and Pine. Again, this is not the city's project. This is a project that Hope Source is purchasing through grant funds. And the second would be a Washington State Department of Transportation letter of support for the Consolidated Operating Grant and the ADA Paratransit Services.
Monica, did you have a question about?
It was a letter from Hope Source or for Hope Source addressed to.
The letter, it is addressed to, these are funds through, I believe it's Commerce. And so we don't have a specific contact person. And this is what we have.
So we need a motion to accept the mayor's signature on these letters.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second to authorize the mayor's signature on a letter of support for the Hope Source's request of funds and the Central Transit's request for operating grant program. Any discussion? There's no public to comment. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I too will vote aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, I have one more item, and that's just a reminder that we have an executive session tonight, and about 10 minutes should do.
And the topic is labor agreement.
It's collective bargaining pursuant to RCW 4230.140.
Okay.
It's almost like you enjoyed it.
Before we adjourn to executive session, are there council
Member reports, Councilmember Elliott.
Very briefly, centrifuge and cog, a couple things going on, and some of that relates back to the infrastructure investment, and very much support the efforts that it's probably time for us to have a joint meeting with that group. And I know that that's in the works for potentially November. And then cog is having internal conversations about trying to sort of take the next step and become more than it has been over the last 10 or 15 years in Kittitas County and become more of a regional planning group. And the initial conversation sounds fairly positive, but we'll participate and see how that goes. And that's all I got.
Yes, I also attended that COG meeting, and that regional discussion is kind of exciting to see what happens with that. The council funded grants committee has met once and reviewed grants. We had 9 applications asking for about $90,000. And we have a little over $17,000 to award. So we're meeting again, actually in the morning, to review those grants again and hopefully make some decisions on those. I attended the Habitat groundbreaking. The UAC met this month. Wanted to let you know that the DEI Commission is collaborating with CWU and the Ellensburg School District on a project that we hope will be ongoing. We're calling it the World Cafe. And that's really refers more to the structure of the conversation. It'll be the first in a number of community conversations about issues that affect this community and that will make this community a stronger community and more resilient going forward. And our first episode on that is November the 12th. It's in the afternoon. That's a Saturday. We haven't set the times on that yet, but more information will be forthcoming on that. I attended the employee appreciation luncheon. And we could feed that group for the rest of the year. We'd never say enough thank yous for all the work that our employees do. They're wonderful. And then I attended the Ida Nason Aronica Elementary School dedication Friday night, and that was really a neat experience. It was quite a crowd there. A lot of the Aronica family was there, and it was fun to hear their appreciation remarks, share their history and what this means to them. And so I'm really excited about that. The school district decided to choose that name for that elementary school. And that's all I have.
Member David Miller.
Oh, thank you. So I must have been just like 10 seconds behind Nancy Goodlow all week, or last couple of weeks. I attended most of, I won't go into a lot of detail. So yes, on our council funded grant meetings, yes, on that. And then also I attended the employee appreciation lunch. It was great, good. The weather cooperated, the turnout was excellent. The food wasn't bad either. So kudos to the staff for the food. Make it clear, council members had nothing to do with preparing the food. I also, since we've shuffled our council member assignments, I'm now the chair of the PTAC. And I just wanted to call out or shout out to Betsy Dunbar for helping bring me up to speed initially on this. So I'm looking forward to working with her and the full PTAC on that. I also attended the Ida Nason Aronica dedication the other night, and it was great. I got a chance to talk to Tony a little bit and catch up with him. But I also learned an interesting fact. Some of you may know this, but this is the very first school in the state of Washington to be named in honor of an Indigenous woman. So that, good for Ellensburg. And then the Arts Commission, we saw the benefit of our work. We did the interviews. That was actually last month, but we had 3 strong candidates, and we felt we were very fortunate to be able to make those recommendations. Again, staff, Josephine Camarel, really did most of the coordination to get those organized and just made the process just very smooth. So shout out to her on that. And it seems like a long time ago now, but I also attended the Habitat groundbreaking in Stuart Meadows. It was a nice turnout for that as well. Very exciting. And then again, last month, I think we skipped some meetings or reports. I also did a coffee with the council last month, middle of the month, actually with Mayor Lilquist, over at the Weinigers at Gerald's. And we've talked about that. I think we've talked about how we appreciate the opportunity to meet with folks sort of in a less formal setting. So I
Had some good discussions.
yeah, I'm not related to that particular one, but I've had some conversations over the last couple of weeks with folks at Fish and just some things going on in the community with feeding folks. But it was mentioned, I mentioned the coffee with the council, and they really like the idea of us setting up one of those with their open table serving. So we have another venue to consider. So I just mentioned that, and I'd certainly volunteer for that. So that's all.
Councilmember Monica Miller.
I had a light meeting period, but I did get to tour the utilities facilities, which was really fun. And I think it should be made available to more people. It was great to meet the people doing the work and to get a better understanding of the infrastructure that goes into providing these utilities for us. So,
Maybe the Allensburg Academy.
oh, something like that. Yeah, it was really fun. And there were lots of opportunities for artwork there, but I'll save that. I was invited to join the Creative Economy Recovery Task Force that's being facilitated by the state's Department of Commerce, and went to Evergreen and Olympia to meet with creatives, accountants, Microsoft employees, and arts advocates from around the state to work toward continuing to define the creative economy, its benefit, and to work towards creating proposals for the legislature to continue to support that important sector in our community and the state and the country as well. And to that, I was invited to be the Grand Marshal of the Giant Puppet Parade last Saturday, and it was a blast, and it was really fun to see the joy that these puppets, not necessarily myself, but that the puppets brought to the community, and also to thank the police department for keeping, well, the giant puppets and also the community safe from us as we meandered through the downtown.
Thank you. Councilmember Wynn.
So I attended the Law and Justice meeting, and then we talked about, it was mostly just a presentation from KitCom about basically the radios are outdated and the options moving forward that they are possibly going to be presenting. I did meet with the other two council members for the city grant applications and been reading through those. Looking forward to actually meeting with them again to hopefully finalize those. We have the lodging tax meeting coming up on Wednesday. Pretty standard meeting, but we will be probably asking for a special meeting to review the lodging tax ones, which there's quite a few. So that should be probably an all day.
Yeah, that's a,
lengthy one.
yeah. I remember being on that committee.
Yeah.
and that was
That's all I've got.
a challenge to read all those.
Yeah.
And rate them. I attended a Yakima Basin Fish and Wildlife Recovery Board. I have a list of the projects that were funded by their grant program, one of which includes Whiskey Creek barrier design. So, that's in our neighborhood. But I think that's the only one nearby. That will be funded and it's on private land. Also, Checkerboard Partnership took a tour of the Tianaway Community Forest, which I guess brought home to me the importance of that purchase. That's a Yakima Basin Integrated Plan project that was funded by the legislature, and they purchased the forest land from a private developer that wanted to put housing there. But it's very important for recreation, but also for fish and wildlife and also watershed services, and the importance of using that as a sponge to hold some water, to attenuate the flows, to provide more water in the summer downstream. And so there's a proposal for the DNR to purchase and manage the Cle Elum Ridge in conjunction with the Tianaway Forest. So that is moving through the legislature, I believe. I attended a lot of the other things folks did, but I attended the addiction panel the other night, and Rich was there providing stats, but there was also stories about second chances and not giving up, and the importance of the drug court, and just the resources available in the community if you have a substance abuse problem that's affecting your life. The importance of reaching out and having that community support was important. I just want to say about the Ida Nason Aronica school ceremony the other night, just, I guess it brought home to me, I can just see kids imagining what it was like to live in a different time in this place, and in the Kittitas Valley, and just the importance of using that name and the person of Ida Nason Aronica to ground Ellensburg students in this place. It's pretty cool, and it's a very lovely school as well. So with that, shall we adjourn to executive session? And we need to for how long?
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
And no actions.
10 minutes with no action. We'll do a 1-minute break. Yeah. Tomorrow.
Yeah.
So really, this comes back.
So happy to help.
Our business is concluded, so we are adjourned.
Kind of makes it feel like it's all about us.